Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to TBR's Thought Leadership webinar, Chromecast, a disruptor and an opportunity, which takes TBR's business lens to the release of Chromecast. I'm Allison Crawford, and I'm hosting today's session. In the next 45 minutes, Analyst Jack Narcotta and Executive Analyst Ezra Gottheil will examine what this evolution by Google means for the market, followed by Q&A of this development and how it will affect you. Before Ezra and Jack get started, I'd like to cover some housekeeping items. First, we'll be recording today's session and posting it on our YouTube site, TBRI channel. We encourage you to visit our channel to watch this presentation or any of the others that we've posted. Second, we'd like to hear your thoughts and opinions on the materials we're presenting. Please send any questions or comments to the Q&A or chat function to the right of your screen. Jack and Ezra will address them at the end of the presentation, or if you'd like to set up a client inquiry for more detailed discussion, please reach out directly to Ezra and Jack at the end of the webinar to set up that conversation. Third, we'll send out the slides to everyone registered for today's webcast within 24 hours of the conclusion of the webinar. You can also find the slides, as well as other thought leadership pieces, webinar decks, and commentaries on SlideShare at www.slideshare.net/TBR_market_insight, and we'll share all our social media links with you at the end of the presentation as well. With that, let me introduce Ezra Gottheil and Jack Narcotta. Jack has more than 15 years in the IT industry, which ranges from the early days of Ethernet and telecommunications to the current revolution in mobile technology. As an analyst in TBR's computing practice, Jack is primarily responsible for reporting on the hardware vendors such as Motorola, Nokia, Samsung, and Sony, as well as focusing on trends and opportunities within the Chrome, Android, and iOS ecosystems. Ezra leads our coverage of HP hardware, Lenovo, and Apple, and is the principal researcher on projects including consumer and business tablets, PC warranties, PC supply chains, mobile device strategies, mobile device management, app stores, and social networking. He's been covering the computing industry for over 20 years, and his insight has proven invaluable to all of our hardware clients. And with that, let me hand this over to Ezra.
Thank you, Allison. The first slide. We believe that Chromecast is a significant disruptor to several related industries, the PC and device hardware industry, the platform industry, that's the Microsoft, Google, and Apple, and the content distribution and consolidation industry, people like Amazon, Netflix, and so on. And finally, it has effects that carry all the way through to content creators, software developers, and app developers. So let's get right into it. We're going to be talking about why we think it's a big deal, why it's such a disruption. Then we'll talk about the implications for the platforms and the devices, then about the businesses involved, and finally some implications for applications. Next slide, please. Okay, the thing that made Chromecast such a disruptor is that it was a good enough solution to the fourth screen problem. There have been means of bringing the large home theater into the device ecosystem for quite a while. It's an obvious thing that you want to do as content consumption, video and audio, increases on all your devices, PCs, handsets, and tablets. You more and more want to exploit the resources of your large screen and your superior speaker systems. Solutions have ranged all the way from HDMI cables draped across the den floor to several wireless solutions to set-side boxes like Apple TV and Roku to game consoles like Xbox that are mutating into ports into the home theater environment. The Chromecast has the virtue not only of being an inexpensive device, but also being a very simple one. It's a cross-platform solution. Right now, the applications that officially support Chromecast are limited, but they exist on virtually all platforms. And Google has published an API whereby applications on virtually any platform can bring their relevant content up to the big screen. Now, what this is doing is, because this was a big deal, it was an obvious next step in the multi-device environment, everybody had home theater plans. There were set-side boxes. Most companies had smart TVs in process, and indeed smart TVs have been available and sold in relatively disappointing quantities for several years now. But this one is a solution, we believe, that will appeal and become dominant. It won't drive the other solutions out of the business because it's a limited solution, but it will make everything else less important and less critical because most of those solutions hinged on the challenge of integrating the fourth screen. What this does is it creates a situation where companies that adapt to the new environment quickly and leverage it are going to gain an advantage in the marketplace, and those that lag behind are going to be disadvantaged. So this is both, for businesses, this is both an opportunity and a threat. Next slide, please. So let's go right to the most obvious place where this is going to have an effect on the actual devices and the platforms that underlie them. By platforms, we mean the combination of device operating systems and cloud services that are now in three big families with what Google offers, what Apple offers, and what Microsoft offers. The appeal of the Chromecast is that it really solves two problems. The obvious one is the connection problem. Connecting the content on one of the devices to the inputs of a home theater device. This is solved by Wi-Fi, which does generate one of the limitations of this device, which is that it does not perform well where Wi-Fi connectivity is not good. But in most home environments, Wi-Fi connectivity is pretty good, and it serves the purpose kind of well. The other problem that may be less obvious is the user interface and user interface device problem. Many of the television connectivity solutions have attempted to make this device, this set-side box, this console, this smart TV, use a television remote control type interface. And it is simply, we believe, not an adequate interface for what is really a very rich, demanding user interface. That is to say, what connecting up your TV screen does, whether it's connecting it up to one of your devices or connecting it up to a content source, is it gives you access to a large number of choices. The obvious way to obtain those choices is through a search, and searching without a keyboard can be anywhere from not too terrible to very, very painful. Clearly there are workarounds. Some of them have been fairly successful, but most of us have become quite used to using a keyboard as the way of inputting search terms, and most of the TV remotes, remote type interfaces to these devices do not have keyboards. With Chromecast, you simply use the keyboard, hard or soft, that is included in the sending device. So two problems are solved. The other reason this is such an effective solution is that it gets the 80% of what people need: the connectivity, the ability to control that connectivity, to have a decent interface for controlling the content that is put on the screen, and does not attempt to solve the other 20%, which is what most of the other solutions also deal with. Those include programmability, games, applications, and access to content libraries directly, not through a remote device. So you've got an inexpensive device with a relatively rapid installation that really solves the major problem that most people are trying to solve when they want to integrate this fourth screen into their computing environment. We believe that ultimately the third-party developers and Google itself and the application developers and even the platform developers will complete the solution. So currently, Chromecast is only available for the Chrome browser on PCs and Macs, for Netflix and YouTube on PCs, Macs, iOS, and Android. we believe, given what Chromecast does and the way it does it, and the fact that Google is making its APIs public, and the fact that there are lots of hacks already out there that go beyond that, we're pretty confident that this will be a fairly complete solution in a relatively short order. Let's not neglect audio. Basically, the audio output on every other device is useful only for a single listener at a time. If anyone other than a single person who is agreeable to be socially isolated from everyone around them with a pair of headsets wants to listen, they have to listen to the speakers that come on these small devices, and they're terrible speakers. Now we return to the idea of sound being played through the best speakers in the house to be shared. And as you'll see as we move forward, the idea that this content is shared is, I think, one of the opportunities that the Chromecast device creates. So in the platform and device universe, we believe right now the race is on, and that platform vendors like Microsoft and Apple that have other solutions will be handicapped if they don't move quickly and take advantage of this solution. Doesn't mean they have to cut off further development of their own solution, but allowing and enabling and bringing to market as quickly as possible Chromecast-compatible solutions will keep them viable. Otherwise, this device is going to cause a considerable migration to the Android platform, which Google is clearly going to want to advantage. And by the way, the Chrome OS platform. And just as a sidelight, the Chromecast is essentially a Chrome OS device. It's a little tiny Chrome OS system right there on a dongle. Next slide, please. So let's talk about the platforms and the businesses that own them. For Google, this is an advantage. It's probably this place where it gives Google the single largest advantage is in the realm of Google Play, where Google is playing catch-up against iTunes as a content consolidator, distributor, retailer. Google Play, and I may not have mentioned it, is one of the applications that is enabled for Chromecast. And the advantage of being able to put the content acquired through Google Play or stored on Google Play out over the big home theater system is of considerable advantage. Google also gains an advantage with YouTube. YouTube is enabled. And what the advantage there is largely getting more what we call eyeball hours, screen time. Basically, the more time people spend with their devices, with their PCs, handsets, and tablets, or with an enabled television screen, the more Google gets the opportunities to sell advertising to you. So anything that enhances the amount of time people spend with these devices is a winner for Google. Anything that makes YouTube in particular more attractive than it otherwise would be, which this certainly does, is an advantage for Google. Google knows, however, that only an open solution will get the widespread utilization, and Google is quite used to the need to provide its solutions on other platforms and other devices. So signs are that it will continue to enable other parties to benefit from the features of Chromecast. Apple is at something of a disadvantage. One of the driving forces behind the relatively rapid uptake of Apple TV in the past couple of years is its role as purely as a connectivity device. Yes, Apple TV includes its own software. It includes the capability of accessing iTunes content directly from the Apple TV device, but sales picked up immediately when Apple included AirPlay and enabled Apple TV as an AirPlay device. So it loses its advantage. The Apple TV still is an attractive device, and they will sell some, but the real driver has sort of disappeared, and Google and Chromecast will serve. If Apple is resistant and basically says if you want put iTunes out through your big system, buy an Apple TV, it will suffer from the consequences, and workarounds will be found. It will lose market share to Google Play. We believe Apple will adapt to this, and probably one way, there are two ways it can adapt. It can enable Chromecast in its apps and applications, and the other is it can incorporate Chromecast functionality in the Apple TV. Now, for years there have been rumors that Apple is going to do something more significant with Apple TV, and these are usually in the form of either that it's going to give a much better television interface, probably a voice-based television interface, or really, it's going to do a subscription-based on-demand content play. That's largely a matter of making deals with the owners of video content. We actually believe both those rumors are true. We don't think Apple was intending to sell a device with a screen, but it was going to come out, and I think it still will come out, with an enhanced set-side box called Apple TV Generation 3 or something like that. The Chromecast doesn't really significantly affect these plans or this business because both of them offer considerable features beyond the mere connectivity, and that's an opportunity for Apple, and it remains an opportunity for Apple. With Microsoft had been using the Xbox increasingly as a connection and network device to bring the home theater into the Microsoft ecosystem. That certainly is continues to be a possibility. However, purely as a connection device, we believe Chromecast is a much stronger play, and that Microsoft should embrace the Chromecast capabilities and build them into its Windows 8 platforms and Windows Phone platform. In the case of both Microsoft and Apple, we believe that it may be possible to do these integrations by third parties. Certainly I can see that a third-party Windows application could project the contents of any window or screen from a Windows platform up into Chromecast. I think it's probably very likely with OS X, probably likely with iOS as well. And so these companies, whether or not they jump on board, will probably find themselves benefiting from support for the Chromecast platform. Next slide, please. So let's talk about some of the content companies and content issues. The chart lays out what is now available on three major common forms of connectivity. As you see, Chromecast is behind the others, but as we say, we believe that's a short-term disadvantage, and that Chromecast will catch up with the others. Netflix, we think, is a prime beneficiary of Chromecast, and it was, of course, involved in the original Chromecast announcement and rollout. 3-month Netflix subscriptions were given with the first batch of Chromecasts that were made available. What happens with Chromecast is that now, because the apps are thoroughly enabled for Chromecast, Chromecast is a Netflix connectivity and interface solution. Basically, the need to have another box, find a way to connect your other devices to the big screen was a barrier to Netflix adoption, not to say that it wasn't a very successful and popular service. That barrier has basically fallen. And so the Netflix applications are fully enabled. You benefit from the user interface capabilities of the PC or mobile device, and you get full Netflix services. We believe Netflix is a net winner. We believe conventional television and cable are net losers. They already were being disintermediated, as we say, by streaming content. We think that Chromecast solving this last connection problem really accelerates that. Now, currently, Chromecast does not support playing of content that's on the device. It only supports the playing of content through these applications, streaming content through these applications, which makes it not an issue in piracy. We believe ultimately the solutions will allow the playing of content stored on these various devices, which opens the possibility of playing pirated content. We believe that that's inevitable. We think at this point it will not particularly accelerate or popularize piracy, that piracy has gone as far as it was going to go, and that the increased availability at reasonable prices of content for purchase will mitigate the damage done by piracy. But we think it is something that adds value to pirated content for its owners. Finally, when you look at content businesses, and this ranges all the way from owners of currently generated video content, professionally video generated content, to sports companies, to owners of back issues of content, old content. We think Chromecast is an opportunity ranging from good to great, and we think it does shift the balance of power to a certain extent between streaming opportunities and conventional television and cable distribution means. So we think this plays a role. Amazon is clearly a company that should take advantage of Chromecast. It can only benefit from having its streaming play right onto home theater devices, and we expect it to move quickly. That's both on the PC platform and on its own platforms, but also on its other mobile device platforms. Thank you very much. Next slide, please. So let's talk about applications. What's different? Yes, we solved a problem people had been solving, had been trying to solve, and often successfully solving for quite a while, taking the content that they were viewing on their various other devices and putting it on the big screen. But this also raises the opportunity for new applications. And the reason for that is that when it's on the big screen, it's consumable by a group. And that means that applications that lend themselves to use by groups are advantaged here. So we have the obvious one, the replacement of the projection screen, or even the large screen television conference rooms with a cable sticking out of the middle of the table, with simply a large screen television with a Chromecast device plugged in. But we're also looking at the possibility of having a good deal more interaction with the presentations. So we're looking at group applications in the business environment. You can see conferencing applications where groups meet with individuals or groups meet with groups. You can see collaboration applications where people work together on content or on plans or on projects. Also in the consumer space, there are plenty of opportunities, and obviously the big one is games. Games to be done together by groups of people, social games. Now we've used the term social games to really mean light gaming for individuals. This is or multiplayer games where the individuals are actually separated. These are games that can be played together on a common screen, and we think that's an opportunity. But we also think there's real social networking kinds of possibilities in the consumer space. You can see applications that basically, like the business ones of groups meeting with groups, would be groups meeting with groups for the purpose of having a good time together, sharing information, gathering together. So we think that there are real opportunities in both the consumer and commercial space. And we think that in this world of a lot of movement in the application development space, with a lot of small companies looking for new opportunities, this expands. They had not fully leveraged, but they leveraged to a great extent the opportunities presented by mobile platforms. This is essentially for those kinds of imaginative development organizations, a new platform to exploit. Next slide, please. So what we're doing right now is we're pulling together plans for an adoption study, and this will be a consumer-oriented population study to talk about content consumption, connectivity, and the awareness and impact of Chromecast, to help our customers get a handle on the importance of Chromecast, the adoption rates, the plans, the criteria, the satisfaction with all that. There can also be research appropriately in the business space, but frankly, we think that business consumers, the business market will respond less quickly than the consumer market to this popularly available $35 device. So we invite you to contact any of the people on this slide, or your own sales representative, your own account exec here at TBR, to talk about participation in this multi-client study that we're planning for at this time. So it's time to ask for questions.
Great. So I'd like to open up the floor. Ezra, we've had a couple questions come through, but there's one actually clarification question that came through.
Sure.
So I think we'll start with that. It was actually on slide 7, and the clarification was, the question was, will this open up to full screen casting or just be limited to apps integrated with the SDK?
We believe that full screen will be enabled by, at the very least, by third-party developers for the platforms. I mean, currently there are apps that do things like screenshots and things like that of full Windows PC screens. There are also hacks that are available and seem to break every time Google updates the software that do this on Chromecast. So we're pretty sure that presenting the full screen, doing basically what web conferencing software does, which is it can present the full screen, it can present an app, and then inside the apps where there's relevant content, they will have apps that say, just show me the video portion of this window.
Okay. Another question we had, could you give some more details on potential Chromecast home consumer applications?
So we think that there's opportunities here for fun applications, the social applications. I can certainly see college dorm social networking applications where groups of people in dorms, communicate with other groups of people in dorms. We also see considerable opportunities in the educational space, because what we now have is a lot of experimentation with these massively open online courses, which are one-to-many communications, but the technology and support for the follow-ups, for the discussion groups, for the processing of the content, for the sharing, is not yet available. So we think that's an area that people will investigate.
Okay. Are there implications for hardware and peripherals?
Yes. Again, remember that the differentiator here in terms of what it's going to be doing in terms of usage is that it'll be used by a group. So I mainly see opportunities here for better quality microphone speaker combinations, for better quality cameras that are intended to be used in a group setting with the the device that is the interface device being handed around or shared.
Okay, it looks like we had another follow-up question come through on the home consumer applications. The question was, what about business applications?
Okay, with business applications, I think what you're seeing is some things that have been attempted in the past and have had limited success, but there are greater opportunities. So these are things like shared whiteboard applications, shared presentation development applications, shared planning applications, where the ability to manipulate the content that is viewed together is enhanced, and people can interact with each other around a common representation of what they're doing. Then there are also a lower barrier to entry for real video conferencing. If you combine one of these cameras with a pair of these Chromecast-enabled rooms, you get fairly inexpensive groups meeting with groups, and we think we're going to see a lot of that as well.
Great. It doesn't look like there's any additional questions in queue, so with that, I think we will wrap up. I want to thank everyone for your questions, and thank you for the time today, and thanks, Ezra, for the presentation. As I mentioned, here are all the social media links that you guys can engage with TBR. You can follow Ezra as well as TBR at the Twitter handles listed here, and we encourage you to join the conversation on LinkedIn, SlideShare, and YouTube to get access to this content and be able to interact with our analysts even more. As Ezra said, this is we're doing a preliminary study on Chromecast adoption. So if there is interest in participating in that study, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. I'm going to leave the chat function open for another couple of minutes in case there's any last-minute questions or anyone wants to set up conversations with Ezra around what's happening in the devices space. Otherwise, we will look to you guys for the devices benchmark webinars coming up next month. So we encourage you all to attend that webinar to find out what's happening in the devices market, and we will follow up with some survey results once the Chromecast survey is done. Thanks, everyone, for your time, and we look forward to speaking with you all soon.